ANC's provincial elective conference. Let's get some analysis now ahead of this ANC's Eastern Cape elective conference with political analyst David Maimela. David, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. This is the 9th provincial elective conference of the ANC, but of course the road to here has been plagued, as Pamandla Goke, my colleague, was just reporting now, by lots of challenges in the Eastern Cape, disunity or lack of unity, and also allegations of gatekeeping in terms of certain regions and branches of the ANC, and also recently we've seen some disturbing scenes of people being killed, ANC councillors, and there was a lot of concern about it. So it's happening against this kind of background. If you're watching it, I mean, what should we be looking out for to indicate a change, perhaps at that provincial level of the ANC towards renewal?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I think you're absolutely correct. I think the three main challenges facing the ANC today is, of course, the crisis of legitimacy or credibility, if you like, in the eyes of the public. That's a more external challenge that they have. And then the other one is, of course, lack of unity in the organization and cohesion. That's more of an internal problem. And then, of course, the other one, which is also an external problem, is its capacity to deliver whatever that it promises, the whole idea of a better life for all. So those are the three challenges. So they play themselves out in different theaters at different times. And leading up to the provincial conference, not only in the Eastern Cape, but even elsewhere in the country, the debates, the rhetoric, and the slates, if you like, they center around who can do a better job at taking us out of those three problems. And in my view, I do not think that the idea and the program of renewal will succeed. And I think probably we might need 30 minutes to unpack that. But I don't see it succeeding because of a number of reasons. One of them is that if you talk of renewal in the ANC, you've got to also talk about renewal of the country itself and government. So, for instance, we now know that research and information coming up is indicating that the NDP goals, the National Development Plan goals for 2030, they have gone off the rails. So when you talk of renewal, you also talk of it within that context, whether the country is making progress or not.
Yeah,
so I think...
So even at the provincial level, particularly in the Eastern Cape, it's regarded as a rural province and with all kinds of challenges, also affected recently by the floods. One would have hoped that maybe by now, when the ANC approaches its elective conferences in these provinces, it's putting issues instead of personalities up front, because currently, even today, they're saying, no, Oscar Mabuyane, makabuya. Uyabuya Oscar Mabuyane, because he's the man who must be given another chance for a second term to finish his job. And some commentators on the ground, the members of the ANC, blaming COVID-19 for lack of progress. It's like, but COVID-19 is a very recent phenomenon. It just started in 2020. Why this fascination around individuals, as you say, rather than here are the matters that we are grappling with? Let's canvas around this.
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge that they are facing. I mean, so you can win the conference as a faction, but the biggest question that you face as a party is whether can you win the elections, the national elections, or
in 2024
elections. Yes, so that's the issue. I've got no doubt that I think the ANC will win provincial elections in 2024. The biggest question mark, of course, is in Gauteng. But I must say that in relation to the national politics or the national conference of the ANC, the Eastern Cape is quite important as a province for a number of reasons. One, It's also, I think, if it's not the second, it's the third biggest province in the ANC structures. Secondly, as you would know, the three last presidents of the ANC before President Jacob Zuma were actually from that province originally. O.R. Tambo, Nelson Mandela, as well as President Mbeki. So, and also, most importantly, they have got vast pieces of land, and they actually have serious problems of migration and all of that. Now, it's a very important and a decisive province in the politics of the ANC. It's got that rich heritage, that culture, that history. But yeah, so the issue has always been, and the ANC always prides itself by saying its best president was actually President Tambo. And if that's the understanding, then the expectation is, as you are saying, what are the issues? What are the policy platforms? Why are we not hearing more about that? And then that's the existential challenge that the ANC faces now. Those are the issues that it should confront as it grapples with renewal.
So if the Eastern Cape, if it is one of the top three in terms of size, largest in the ANC structures, if it's got such a rich history and heritage, as we know, if it has contributed eminent persons in the history of the African National Congress since 1912, how important or vital it is that this weekend is successful in the right way, and it's as peaceful and as smooth as it should be ahead of December this year.
Yeah, no, it's very important for it. I mean, for anybody, for any party that is going to any conference, their own party political conference, particularly the national conference, they would always want to hope that their top biggest provinces, whether in terms of the quality of the cadreship, the quality of the debates, or whether the sheer size of membership, they would always want to hope that those provinces are more united and more cohesive. But as we know, since at least Polokwane, there isn't a single province of the ANC that goes to the national conference united fully. But it becomes important for peace and stability within the party, for unity and cohesion. As you know, the last conference was described as a conference of chairs. And so one hopes that it doesn't get to that point, and that none of the provincial conferences actually get to that point, so that at least when you get to the national conference, you've got a more of a smoother conference, especially from the side of violence. But whether it will be smooth in terms of contestation, that remains to be seen.
Yes, I mean, you mentioned him, President Mbeki, as we conclude, David, and I'm sure he'll be one of those ANC leaders hoping for a conference that will not be degenerate into a battle of chairs, as you've reminded us, but into a battle of ideas around renewal. I mean, he's been around the country mandated by the ANC, that's former President Thabo Mbeki. He's addressed, for example, the Provincial Executive Committee in the Eastern Cape just a few weeks ago, and he kept on harping on the need for renewal. So as we conclude, if I'm looking from far from outside, come Sunday, what would I be looking for to check if the leaders of the ANC in the Eastern Cape did take the message of former President Thabo Mbeki a few months ago on board as they come out of this conference?
Like I said earlier on, I'm not so optimistic about the message of renewal or the program there too. Because I think things have gone further down the line or further down the road in terms of the unraveling the ANC story or the liberation movement story. And I think it will take more than the gospel. It will take more than the message. it will take particular decisions that may have to do with structural change and structural reform in the party. Other countries elsewhere in the world, they even undertake an overhaul of their party's constitution. They consider bringing young blood, in large numbers. Of course, you still need the more experienced and veteran people in the party. They also consider changing the policy platforms, and they also consider as well partnering with other political forces to basically, Nicaragua is one of those examples where the National Liberation Movement actually ultimately partnered with the formations that are regarded to be sort of liberal. I'm not suggesting that the ANC should go that route, but it might need to rely on other political forces outside the alliance to basically survive the wave of the next election. So they have to do more than that. It's very good and nice to hem on the nostalgia and the wish to go back into the old values of the ANC. And if that is doable, then so be it. But if it's not doable, you've got to do something more drastic than just talking or appealing to the values and the...
Yeah, I've seen some commentators, as we conclude, David Maimela, these will be my parting words. Thanks for your time. Is that maybe that partnership for an ANC going forward would lie in civil society, where there's a lot of active citizenship and people are rallying and organizing and mobilizing around specific key national matters. Thank you very much for your time this hour. That's David Maimela, political analyst, just sharing some insights with us as we look building up to the ANC's provincial elective conference in the Eastern Cape. Still ahead.